the Tales of Tech podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I am joined once again with Nick and Randy. We were supposed to meet in person today, and because we're not, I am incredibly sad. How are you?
I'm overly depressed at the moment. So,
I'm really sad now.
That's great to hear. I'm glad everyone's sad.
But we're safe. That's the important thing.
No,
we're safe.
True.
That's gross.
Oh.
Safe sounds so boring. This is our next best thing, and we're trying something out, and it looks like this might be working. So if you guys are seeing this is my uniform for the day, and
Believe us, compared to normal podcast times, this is a lot of clothing. This is more than usual. And if you're listening to the audio format, don't even worry about it. Nothing to see here.
Guys, it's been over a year now. It's been 1 year since we've been together.
Yeah, today's the 28th,
so
the day we're recording this. This was the day you guys brought the Tesla up to visit. Man.
That was a good day.
What a year. So much has
fun.
changed in a year. So much has happened in a year.
A lot has changed. A lot has happened in the last week, by the way.
I know.
I was going to say, just the last week was an entire year worth of stuff happening, but...
Pretty much. I have gone to the 11-inch form factor,
Oh, that's
which we
what
can
I'm
talk
talking
about.
I'm sorry. I thought we were talking about other things.
But have you guys seen the LiDAR demos I've showcased?
I have been loving
Yes.
this past week
my
of watching you on Twitter just post things, because it is very entertaining to just see how accurate and how precise, even with the shaky hands and all that stuff.
It is incredibly precise. It's fascinating because there were so many people both on Twitter, Discord, and YouTube. In fact, when the iPad Pro first came out and I started showing pictures of like the Magic Keyboard in my hand going in front of it and stuff, there was this guy in our Discord that was like, wait, I thought the Magic Keyboard comes out in May. And me and a moderator just kind of ran with it. We just kind of said, oh yeah, that's the new one. Well, this is the first one. And he was like, so wait, they already made a keyboard case with a trackpad? And we were like, yeah, we got it today. It came out. And he was like, oh, so wait, what's the point of the new one? And I was like, oh, it's got the extra USB-C port and it supports the new iPads and stuff, but this is for the old one. And he was just like, that's not how I thought. Okay, well, all right. And he just took, he saw the picture and he was convinced. He was like, oh, he has it already.
If Drew says so.
Yeah.
You were showing the Mac Pro going underneath the desk, and
That was impressive.
that the fact that it understands overlay of things and
Right.
The shadows.
Before I even read
shadow.
what you put in the tweet, I was watching. It's like, what is he doing with the?
Oh, it's not there.
The fact that there's even a sense of color balance to the room temperature.
Yes.
Yeah, it analyzes where the light's coming from, and it will hit the device differently. I didn't even discover the part with the Mac Pro underneath the table. That was I just wanted to show it to my younger sister-in-law, and she was just playing around with it and moving it around the room, and then she puts it behind the table, and I was like, "Whoa, what did you do? What did you just do?" Wait, let me see that. And I start messing around with it, and I'm seeing how the shadows go over it and stuff, and I'm like, okay, this was a way bigger difference than I thought it was going to be. Maybe our lack of appreciation of the LiDAR sensor comes from the AR demos we currently have not being that amazing. And now that they're becoming more amazing, we're like, oh, okay, could you do this with it? Could you do this with it? Or I saw one guy do some type of LiDAR test, and he covered up the camera. And he just gave a grid layout of what the LiDAR sensor was seeing without any visuals. And it was fascinating to see the depth data it was able to collect on that, and just the lay of the room. Now, it's not perfect. There were some people pointing out, it doesn't get everything just right. But the fact this is week one with Apple's first LiDAR sensor is just kind of interesting to be like, how is this going to be in, a couple of years when they get better at this?
Right.
Yeah.
So
I hope it doesn't
the LiDAR
go through the way
demos
of 3D touch or something else where it just kind of gets on the back burner. You put so much, you've hyped this up for so many years, and now that you're actually bringing something out that is a dedicated sensor for it, I don't want the hardware to go to waste. And that's in comparison to 3D touch that I hope that they keep working on it, just because now it's remember how we've said it before that we don't know. We're not thinking what they're thinking. Like, why would you do it? What's the use case? But I'm sure whatever it is, it's something we're not thinking about. I didn't
Yeah.
even put thought into like, oh, hey, check out these products. That's one thing, and obviously AR games, sure, another. But this kind of validates the idea of what the glasses would do then if you go to project certain things, whether if you're using maps or something, that the fact that like the type of data that you can get presented to you on a single screen based off of the sensory stuff with the AR glasses makes me go, oh, okay, no, they probably could do something legit with this.
Do you think
would
the
be
glasses
pretty-
would have to have LiDAR now?
Yes,
Totally. That's
because
the
I'm
whole
because I'm
point of
too
this
dumb
whole
to know otherwise. Like I don't know what else you could do. Like it has to. iPad Pro has been the beta tester for hardware on a lot of things and
Promotion, USB-C.
promotion,
True,
USB.
true. The
That-
Magic Keyboard, which is just
Yeah.
amazing in every single one
Oh,
of its
and
lines
Yeah,
and
I
contours.
have been
True.
exclusively since 13.4 been using Magic Mouse on my iPad, and
Oh,
up
cool.
until before we started doing this, I was having a perfect experience, and then about 10 minutes ago, when I try to scroll down to click on the bar, because if you click on the bar, it takes you home.
Yeah.
On FaceTime, when I go down, it kept shooting to the left and it wouldn't want to do it. And then it just kind of fixed itself. So now I can do it. But just the idea that, like, it's a little bit buggy, but
Yeah.
I have been trying this out exclusively just to see how much productivity can I do on iPad. And at least for right now, as of recording this, besides doing Logic and me doing audio podcast stuff on Mac, everything else has been solely done on this.
That's good. And I fully support that, Randy, because, I know we've bickered in the past about me needing a Mac and then not needing a Mac and then needing a Mac again. But using this beautiful Magic Trackpad 2, which is literally my favorite trackpad ever to exist in so many different ways, with an iPad, and also being able to pair at the same time and use at the same time an OG Magic Trackpad. And
Why do you have that?
well, why
That's
do I
not
have
very
it? Because
essentialist of you.
I'm an. It is not. I had my boss actually gave this to me from a while ago. He had it laying around, and he knew I was an Apple guy, and he was like, "Oh, hey, why don't you have this?" And I was like, "Okay, cool."
Wow.
But I literally never
The
used
perfect
it.
gift for the
It
man
was
who
the
has
perfect
everything.
gift. If other people are looking for gifts, I can look. I can take other things too. But I had it laying around. And I hadn't touched it. I literally never used it for a year. So I dug it out a couple days ago, and I was like, I'm gonna try to pair this to the iPad and just see what the difference is, because I knew people were saying the gestures don't work on the old one. They do on the new one.
Oh, okay.
So I want to see a difference. And by golly, you can pair two at the same time. So I'm using two mice at the
Why
same
would you-
time.
Okay.
They're fighting each other. It's
Yeah.
really fun. There's still only one little cursor, obviously, but
and there's only
they're two-
one that's doing gestures.
and there's only one that's doing gestures. Yes,
I
So-
see.
By golly.
I'm just the ultimate flex.
Well, I haven't been doing much cursor support just because I've been trying to adapt to this new form factor, because ever since 2018, I've had the 13-inch iPad Pro. That's what I'm talking to you guys on right now, because I have a smart cover for it so I can prop it up. But I didn't get one for this. But it's
12.9. Okay.
12.9. I hate you gotta get the specific measurements. Why can't we round? 6-inch
don't
iPhone?
know.
Do we have to say 6.1 or 12.9? Just say 13. Do we go? Is the 16-inch MacBook Pro exactly 16 inches, or do we call it the 16.4 or whatever?
I'm sure there's a
0.3.
lawsuit out there.
Um,
It's actually only 15.9 feet.
Apple, why? But this feels more like a tablet than my 12.9-inch iPad Pro does now. I've
Yeah,
been
it's less of a laptop. It's more of a
I've been rocking both, and I feel that with the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, I kind of have to have the smart cover. I have to be able to prop it up and use it, because it's just too cumbersome and large to use. You don't hold your 12.9-inch iPad Pro very much. Usually you set it down somewhere, and then you start touching and interacting with it. Whereas this is so light and it's so compact that I can reach everything. I'm actually using it in portrait mode way more than I was using my 12.9-inch iPad Pro, which I hardly ever used in portrait mode. And that made Face ID a bit more practical because it's, in the top on the shorter side. And even when it's in landscape, I can reach all the keys with my thumbs. And I still don't feel like much stuff is cut off. Like I don't feel very constricted with the 11-inch footprint. I still feel like I can get lots of the benefits of iPadOS, whether it's split screen or picture-in-picture, things that the iPhone can't do, but just in a much more compact way. And it's made me have this attraction to the 11-inch I wasn't expecting to have.
So you like it more?
This experience has taught me that I definitely could live with an 11-inch if I wanted to. For financial reasons, I don't know if I want to keep it because I feel like if I wanted to sell my 12.9-inch, because I don't want two iPads, I'm not that guy.
You're not
I'm
Nick.
not the guy that's... Yeah.
Oh, ouch! Come on, I only have one iPad.
You have one, but...
Drew has two right now. Come on, guys. I'm not even the
This could
worst.
be like your Apple Watch collection, Nick. It starts with
are
one.
we talking about Apple Watches?
Not yet. It's a simile.
Okay.
We start collecting the iPads, and then the collection grows and grows. But
10 points to Drew for simile correctly being used.
big brain, big words.
Big brain.
If
Siri,
I kept
define a simile.
No.
No. If I kept the 11-inch, I would have to sell the 12.9-inch, and I would have a very hard time selling it right now, given the predicament the world's in. So, and I don't like shipping stuff. I don't like doing stuff online for selling things. I prefer just selling on local marketplaces and stuff. I've done that with previous iPads, and I don't know if I'd get much of my money back on the 12.9-inch Pro, even though I would include two cases. Like, I could probably get quite a bit back, but the dilemma I'm facing is once the keyboard and trackpad become a thing, because I'm definitely getting the Magic Keyboard 100%, and I'm not returning it. But once that's available, will it feel like
So
I have...
absolute of you. No.
Oh, no, that's...
thing.
As soon as, ever since 2015, I have been requesting that they do a double ported iPad, or one port on each side to make it more
Not the
MacBook-like.
same thing.
And this is the closest we've ever been, Nick. It may not be exactly what I wanted,
I'll give you that.
but it's the closest. So as soon as I saw the extra port and I saw how it floated and how easy it is to pull off, I was like, I don't even care about the trackpad. I just want it for the sake of it being able to adjust for FaceTime, because right now I have to stick my Apple Pencil in the smart cover to get it to adjust to different angles just right.
Oh my God. I have
I
never
didn't know
thought
that.
about that.
Oh, I am big brain here, spreading all the life hacks. To get the
hang on
iPad
one
to point
second.
more towards
Keep-
you, I just
keep
stick the
talking,
pencil
but
behind.
I am doing this.
Life
Wait, where's the
hacks.
flat side?
Less face.
Top 150 iPad Pro hacks
Where's
and
the
tricks.
flat side going, Drew?
It doesn't matter. I just stick it in the back. You guys have keyboard cases, so I don't know how it is for you.
Case.
I
But
don't
you know
have a
what?
keyboard
That's
case.
right. I can't do
'Cause-
it. Because now
This is why no one knows about this.
the typing. I can't type now.
Yeah, you
gonna
don't need to
test it.
type. I don't think I'll
How
even
dare
use
you.
the keyboard on the Magic Keyboard case.
Yep. Yeah,
I'm just
no,
going to
I
use
hate
it
this.
for FaceTime adjusting, the extra USB-C, and the ease of pulling it off the case. That's the main thing. But that's why I decided I wanted to order the third-party keyboard case and see if, like, am I comfortable with the 13-inch laptop experience? Because my only concern with keeping the 11-inch iPad Pro is while it may feel comfortable as a tablet, maybe it will feel confined as a laptop once the keyboard case comes out. So that's my concern is that this
You know what you're thinking
device,
of? You're having the same. It's not a placebo effect, but because you have a comparison to go off of. You think of confinement stuff like that, but much like going, 7 plus, 8 plus, 6 plus, or 11 max. You're doing all these things where you've adjusted because you're accustomed to it. You are very quickly to readjust back to whatever screen size that you're working with, and I don't think it's going to be that much of an issue as you think it is. It's more you would only go, in my opinion, you choose the smaller iPad based off of. I mean,
honeymoon
the cost-
phase.
I'm thinking in like long term. You get the smaller iPad for more portability if you need to move around. If you want to have, if you're nickel and diming every part of your expenses, then it's cheaper to get the smaller form factor, even with the keyboard and everything like that. The only thing that's the same is the pencil. But other than that,
In this
maybe
case,
battery.
in this case, I can return the 11-inch iPad Pro and get a full refund. Whereas if I sell my 12.9-inch, I will not get,
That's because you're still within the window, though. You're in that bracket, but
I have to make a decision before April 8th, basically. That's when I have to
I think
come
you
up
should
to a conclusion.
sell the 2018 iPad.
I don't think so. I think you should sell the 11-inch. You're wrong, Randy, and here's the 3 reasons why.
Welcome to the internet, ladies and gentlemen. Drew's friends tell him their opinions on iPad purchases while the world falls apart.
From my point of view, when he talks, he looks like the devil on your shoulder, and I look like I'm the angel on your shoulder.
Well, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil. So
there you are lost!
What's your argument, Nick? I want to hear arguments because I'm torn on this.
12-inch iPad is all about consuming content and creating content.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry, go ahead. When you limit yourself to 11 inches, it's just so small. You need to have a larger iPad.
I thought I'd hear that in a sentence.
I'm purposely phrasing my words to make this more entertaining.
Thank you, Nick.
11 inches is so small. In what universe, Nick?
The one where 13 inches is the norm.
It's true.
So 13 inches is, when you're watching a video, it is like, they're huge black bars on the top or bottom. If you're watching like a widescreen, like Apple Keynote video or like an actual movie, and you have those huge black bars, it is like, okay, well, the iPad here, I could probably get away with an 11-inch, and it would be about the same amount of size after you equate the big black bars.
It is a little bit taller. Some people forget that. It's not 3x4. So I've noticed that when doing landscape stuff, it's like it's a little bit wider than usual, but I can still manage it. But like I don't see it as limiting at this point. There's no apps that I've used that feel like I'm not getting as much information because the main things I focus on are still like between Discord and Twitter. They're all able to stay on the display.
But it's still small, and
smaller.
You get the biggest one possible because
no, you're not going back to that. No. This is a new year, a new decade. None of this. Get the biggest, largest one. No, that's how you put yourself.
I stand by. I love my 12.9 inch. I love
the 12.9. Yeah, everything's great. However,
so
my turn.
You use the 12.9 yourself, Randy. Why are you advocating for the 11-inch in that case?
Because
it has an extra core.
Because it's newer. A12Z.
No, it has nothing to do with that. The newer would mean nothing if it didn't have a practical use. And in this case, we're talking about your specific scenario. You have newer, or you have a new sensor. You have a new lens there. The reason why, just on form factor and everything else, why this one in your particular case, you have a brand new battery, longevity. So there's that. 2, you don't use the keyboard. You're not really losing any financial investments that you've put towards the 12.9. 3, and I know this from experience, going from the old 9.7 to this one, it's not that big of a drastic change adjusting from screen sizes for what you're using iPad for. Getting bigger just so you can give yourself an extra inch and some change so you can watch a YouTube video better, or you can have Twitter side by side with something else, side by side by something else. It's not that drastic, especially because for your case, you working from home and you having a quarantine lifestyle before it was trending. You're not using your iPad as your primary display. You're using iMac Pro or one of your assisting monitors, or you're using your TV to watch content. You have if screen real estate was a thing, check. You're already covered there more than one time. iPad is meant to help you just navigate through things, or it's a assistant to whatever you're doing, whether you're taking notes, whether you're live streaming and you want to read the comment section, whether
It's mostly
or the
video
chat.
thumbnails.
It's
That's what I use it for mainly.
Or doing this. This is not going to be
Imagine
that
how much
drastic of a
smaller my
change.
beautiful face would be on an 11-inch. It would be.
It's
sad.
all the same. It's all the same resolution when we move this over to like Final Cut and then you're exporting. So it's not that drastic of a change. And now you're technically, if you were trying to compare costs here, should I get the 11 or the 13? You're saving money with the 11. You're going to have more portability. In your case right now, you have better RAM, storage. Well, I think storage. I don't know what your configuration is. But
Yeah, it's 6 gigs of RAM on all the new iPad Pros. That's been confirmed
RAM,
now.
but it's also like what about like
128?
Just
128 gigs is
There you go.
default
storage.
now.
So you have storage. You have because you got 64 on the 2018, right?
Yeah, but I'm using 31 gigs of the 64. So,
But my point.
yeah.
RAM,
I'm using
storage,
65 of my 64.
battery, new battery,
Whoa.
the keyboard. I mean, you're gonna get the keyboard with the trackpad and all that stuff. You yourself already said you don't care about the tactile keys and stuff like that. So for your case,
I mean, it's kind of handy because my wife does spreadsheets, and as soon as she saw the cursor support thing, she was like, "Yeah, I need that." So it's like it'll be nice to have for those occasional uses, but I don't like. That's not the reason I'm getting it. That's not my.
see, for someone like me who's been advocating, I've been on record enough times saying that I would let my iPad be my primary and have it replace Mac if possible. I need the bigger screen because I need the bigger keys because that would be in that theoretical end solution. That would be my only keyboard. So I prefer having a bigger keyboard in that sense. But for you, since you don't care about that, the 11-inch would be more than enough. And in this particular case, now you have newer camera, new sensor. You have a brand new piece of hardware that's in there. It's new. Why not? Now,
So-
the reason why the one thing that Nick didn't bring up that I would advocate against for Nick and against myself is you don't need it. Save your money. Put it towards something else.
That was my next point. All right. So something that a smaller person would not understand as well, and I think Drew, you can kind of
How
relate.
dare you? How dare you?
Maybe that's the disagreement here is for
I
Nick,
can
the
reach
12.9-inch iPad
like
is
12
about the
keys
same
on my
size as an
piano,
11-inch
Nick. How many
iPad
keys
for
can
me.
you
Exactly.
reach?
Yes. This is true. The
I hate you
12.9-inch in comparison, because I'm however many percentage points larger than the average person.
You're 7'30".
7'30" and 6 inches. And yeah,
So to you,
I couldn't do an
12.9
11
inch is
inch
already
because-
pretty compact.
Yeah, and I feel like when I'm walking, I haven't walked around. I haven't left my house in weeks, guys. This is sad.
This is not.
I
But
sleep
when I
in
was
this chair.
walking around, when I was walking around in person, and being a human, the iPad, I always had my iPad on me. We've gone back to that conversation, the decision between the MacBook Pro or the iPad. I eliminated that by just going with the iPad. And I carried it around with me everywhere, which is kind of why it's so beat up. And, you guys take care of your technology a little bit better than I have. But I feel like over the past few months, I've been a lot better
A
about
little bit.
it. Oh, come on.
I
Oh,
show it
come
common
on.
courtesy, and he calls it a little bit.
Go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
Anyway, thank you, Drew. I appreciate you interrupting the interruption. So the 12.9-inch feels like, in proportion, it feels like the right size. And Scott has an 11-inch iPad, and I've held it and played around with it, and it feels too small
To you, it's like
on
a
my
phone.
body. Like, yeah, it I mean, pretty much. I mean, not really, but
You could fit it in your pocket.
maybe I didn't try. I probably could.
He can hold it with one hand over.
I actually
I
can.
can-
I can palm it for sure.
I can do it.
I can
I'm doing
almost.
it.
I can almost palm my 12-inch.
That's disgusting.
But
That's an
you
interesting
guys are
terminology.
unnatural.
I can just about do it.
yeah, I can about do that on my 12-inch. So I
My
can definitely
friend,
palm a smaller one.
My friend Ross, back in high school and middle school had a iPad 2, and he had one of those like bigger
iPad
cargo
2.
shorts that he could fit the whole 9.7-inch iPad inside. So he would just put it in his pocket and take it around to school and stuff. It was
That's
funny
cool.
because it obviously bulked out a ton, but it did work. Same with Wyatt. He could fit the iPad in his pocket. He could probably fit the 12.9-inch iPad in his pocket. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel super limiting using it, but you guys brought up good points, both of which I should consider. I don't need it. I'm wondering if
Yes, you do.
the
You need a new 12-inch. That's what you need.
Now we're switching sides because I'm over here saying
No, you need
really
a new
don't.
12. You need a new 12.9 inch.
saying I need to get 12.9-inch 2020 iPad Pro, or we could go the opposite direction, return the 11-inch, sell the 12.9, get a refurbished 11-inch from 2018.
Or you can return this one, sell your 2018 iPad, and then in fall get the actual new iPad.
I have
That's
my
not
doubts.
coming. I refuse to believe it. Ah, la 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 la.
For one-
It's not coming.
The same people, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I have my doubts that it'll be major. For one, 5G, that is an option. It is not a standard. It will probably be more expensive. And I also have never once come to a situation where the A12X or A12Z was too dang slow. And yet so many people are acting like, well, you got to wait for the A14X because that'll be
Drew,
the real
I have
big...
a criticism on that. I would agree with you that I have never had a part where my A12X is sad or laggy.
Let me pull up
and
Quinn's tweet.
I would
before
guarantee
get
you
into-
that the A12Z will be fine and lag free, just like my current one is. I have zero complaints about the speed of my current iPad.
Waiting for the
What I
bud.
do have a complaint though is Apple should have just incremented the number so I don't feel like I'm
cares?
buying 2018
They did
tech.
increment it. That's why they called it
They
A12. Not
incremented a letter and they went from X to Z. They skipped all over Y. Come on, guys.
I'm just
It
saying,
means
like,
nothing.
um,
10R.
they did it. They did incremental because if they would have called it A13 and it was basically the same as the A12, I would have agreed. Yeah, that's kind of dumb. But they didn't. They still gave it the 12.
That's fine.
But don't you guys
And
think, on a separate note, shouldn't
No.
the A12X or A12Z be totally capable of night mode shots and or a rear-facing portrait mode?
No, actually, no, because the new
Why?
A13 stuff has a different. It's a different processor. Quinn made a really long.
It's not
tweet storm
faster,
about it. Well, it's not about the speed; it's about the custom silicon for those tasks. And so I would imagine since the A12Z is basically just an A12X that has all of its cores enabled due to manufacturing. There is not that specific hardware that the A13 has, so it's not able to do that night mode and stuff because the 11 can do night mode just fine, but that has an A13, not an A12.
I call BS on that. I think it totally could do it. I
The
think
iPhone XS can't do it.
Yeah, but that has an
We're
A12, not
expecting
A12X. A12X is like miles ahead. That was like
A12X
substantially
is an
faster.
A12 chip with more graphics power.
Yeah, but the CPU speed and GPU speed were significantly ahead of that of even the A13. So I think it can be done, but I'm no expert.
Apple just
so
wants you to spend extra money or have a reason to upgrade it next year. That's basically the reason.
that I think a part of the genius of releasing the Magic Keyboard trackpad in May that I realized was really smart is that it forces everyone to buy a regular folio cover now. Mm-hmm. And then they have to buy another keyboard case in May. I'm like,
That's why I'm for sure waiting to May to do anything because I ain't buying an extra key case. I don't want to have two cases around.
You
Come on,
don't
guys.
need to buy the folio now.
You tell me to take care of my
iPad-
stuff, Randy. I'm trying.
Unlike a Windows product or a Google product or any of those other tablets, iPad can very literally just be out of the box and work exactly as it's intended to, with no case, no keyboard,
Agreed.
no mouse, no nothing.
No
and you
pencil.
get the exact same experience. You don't
Agreed.
need it.
I think the fact that I have to call you guys on my 12.9 inch because I don't want to hold up the 11 inch iPad Pro this whole call is like, that's just one situation where it's like, man, I need that case, but also I can't wait till May. So I think there's a lot of people that are going to spend like the $80 to $100 on the cover now and then have to spend, $300 plus.
150. Oh, gosh.
Well, I think your
Probably.
use case is a little bit more niche about it. Most people, when they use FaceTime, they're lounging, they're laying on
That's
the couch
true,
or something.
I guess.
And
We use
you're
it for
outside.
professional work. That's why
We do-
I'm dressed
I
up.
mean, that's
I have
why-
a collar on me right now.
And
Drew
that's
has
why
a
I
t-shirt
have-
and Randy's in a robe.
Wow, wow, wow. Air Force One who? Oh. Ladies.
For all you audio
Gentlemen.
listeners, just don't look at the video. This is
Well,
not
let me.
worth it.
I think once I get the keyboard case for the 12.9 inch, I can formulate. I can come to a conclusion on whether or not I should keep it. But
I already have an answer for you, and I already know what you're going to do. And this is not reverse psychology, and this is not you, and I don't think you're gonna do the opposite just to spite me.
I might.
I mean, you might, but you and I both know the truth, and you're going to return it. Drew 2 years ago would have held on to the new thing for dear life. Drew in 2020, you're going to return it. Yeah.
For what'll be my reason though, Mr. Fortune Teller? What's going to be my logic?
Your well, okay, so I'm going to give you things that Nick haven't said. At least I don't think he, I don't know. So it's
totally
because
discrediting me.
I
I'm
like
going
hearing
against
about my
myself.
future self. It's interesting.
and I'm going against myself too. This is even I
Okay.
got to think about all things because I make good arguments about
So
why.
what
you
you're
should keep
saying
it.
is I'm such a poor arguer or that you have to do my arguing for
Use it in a sentence. Spell it exactly.
arguer or
Argumenter?
argumentative or
Logically, you have no blemishes, no defects, no nothing wrong with the 2018. You do have the case already. You're saving money. If you're going to spend anything, in my opinion, I mean, I don't know how. I have a threshold, at least for me, that when I go like, okay, after I hit a certain number, I pause and I go, do I really need it? And for me, it's about around $200. I'll go, do I really need that? That's for me. And regardless of any product that you're going to buy on the iPad side, you're going to break that theoretical threshold that I've put in place for myself. And I think that's a good thing for you to go, do I really? Even if you treat it as a business expense, which it is, it's not. It served its purpose. There's no 6 months later review worth noting that you're going to get exclusively on that iPad now that you wouldn't get on the 2018 based off of iOS 14. And when you want to talk about the sensory camera, the only reason why you would return it is because if you are going to get that one, it would better suit you to give the bigger form factor. Because I actually do agree that in your specific use case as a content creator, as a reviewer, as someone who reports news on this stuff, you have more screen real estate that's more accessible to you, and it's better for you to have something that gives you more than less. You don't need less. If you're the type of guy, if you're going to use something that small, you're going to go straight to your phone. And your little in between, if you're trying to break away from your office space and move around, having the iPad with you, it's a return to a comfortable state. You know the form, you're used to it, and if you are going to get that magic keyboard, which you said you are, and now Luis is going to use it, it's just it's a more comfortable experience overall.
Yes.
And you're not really going to be
full-size
losing
keyboard
anything.
out of 3. Yeah.
Yeah, it's now if you're looking at the cost difference between keeping the smaller one or the larger one, it's so fractional. It honestly makes no sense. In your case, just return it, get the bigger one because this is your review unit to you. It's a review unit. You're getting the core information and data off of it that you need to get off of it for you to understand it for the next couple weeks, and then it's done. Nothing between that and the bigger one is going to be that much of a difference. So if you're going to get one that's long term and it's more compatible to both of your iPads, like the keyboard or the Magic Keyboard, if you're going to get that and you can swap a mouse with that, you just have more use cases getting another 12.9. You're going to return it.
Okay, now just to
I agree with that.
taint your record, I should just do the opposite, just so we can say Randy's not always right.
But now I have you on record saying that you're purposely going to do it, which means Randy was actually right.
Oh my gosh.
So now I have to do
Inception level of right.
neither. I have to do something that's not either of those things. See,
Plot twist, I got rid of iPad as a whole in my life.
plot twist.
Switch into Chromebook.
My 12.9-inch iPad Pro becomes my laptop, and this becomes my tablet, and I keep both.
There you go.
There's so many options here, but we're talking too much about me, and I'm tired of it. So let's talk about the Apple Watch for a second.
Why, thank you so much.
Because
I'm really glad we're going to talk about me now.
I do want to talk to you, Nick, because there's this rumor from the verifier that I'm not really super on board
Yes,
on board with. I mean, they're reputable and they have a decent track record, but how do you feel about whether it probably won't be the Series 6, but on like an Apple Watch Series 7 or 8 gaining a fingerprint reader? Do you think that's stupid?
I think it's very stupid because I use Face ID all the time.
Same.
And I don't understand why people are annoyed. The one time a week where, like, I just switched my watch bands out this morning. I don't, sleep with the leather loop, but since we're on video, I want to be nicer and dress up and stuff. So I switched it, and I didn't use Face ID to unlock my watch. I just typed in my 4-digit PIN, and it took 2 seconds, and it was done. And I don't have to do it for the rest of the day. Now, if every time I glanced at my watch, I had to enter my PIN, that'd be a completely different story. If every time I glanced at my watch, I had to, like, type in a PIN code to see my activity, like, absolutely, Touch ID, please. But since the watch doesn't work like that, there's no need for Touch ID. I mean, if they're looking... They're kind of they reached that point with the Series 4 so quickly that there's nothing else they can do with it. They reached the 2018 iPad Pro with the Apple Watch so quickly that it's like, this is the best watch ever. I'd say even better than the Series 5 because it has, I have it, basically. That's why it's better.
Because I have it, that's why it's the best.
I don't really care about the screen on thing, and, that was basically the one feature plus compass because that's so important. But if they're looking for like those little minute things, okay, Touch ID in the Series 8 or 25, sure, that can be a thing. But that's not going to be a reason for me to upgrade. The reason why I want to upgrade is A, because I've had this watch for almost 2 years, and B, because I'm tired of the color, and C, because I really want that blood oxygen monitoring chip on there. That would be really cool. Any biometric stuff they can get me. Any
or health
blood
things.
Oxygen, glucose monitoring, anything like that, I would instantly upgrade. That's what I want. And this Touch ID thing is like, okay, it's cool, but it's not really what I want. But seeing how all I wanted out of the 2020 iPad Pros was the iPhone 11 Pro camera and a thicker case with a bigger battery. That's literally all I wanted, and Apple didn't give me any of them, so I'm going to complain on this show because, my goodness, Craig Federighi, what are you doing to me?
So do we find something you agree?
Frames now. That's what he's doing. Yeah.
Oh, true. Did we find something you and Nick agree on, Randy?
About no, this can't happen. I disagree with
Touch
whatever
ID
I just
on
said.
The Apple Watch.
I'm going to. I'm not playing devil's advocate, but I can see a use case for Touch ID.
In 5 years,
what is the use case?
Wow. Roll your eyes at me again, Drew. You're going to get these hands.
I mean, like, I'm not saying... I don't think anyone's arguing there isn't a use case. We're just arguing that it's an incredibly small one that isn't that important. That would probably make manufacturing and the price of the watch go up.
Well... Okay, so...
What's the use case?
Well, I mean, when validating purchases and stuff like that, instead of
it already does.
Twice,
you already double click the thing.
Yeah, and so that
I can make any payment I want.
Nick,
right
it's
now.
I didn't interrupt you once, boy.
You're right.
Sit down.
I will only interrupt you
talk.
twice, and I'm already sitting. Thank you very much.
You sit down again. You're too tall. So thank you. All right, so you can double click, yes, but they're gonna put less moving parts on it, and so
fewer
the
moving parts.
crown is going away to authenticate, which means I wouldn't be surprised if the side button also in some shape, it goes away, and that maybe I don't know where the Touch ID would go. A Touch ID.
The rumors were either the digital crown,
be on the crown, but
or the
I think
display.
It's going to be on the side. It's going to be on the side.
Regardless of where it goes, the function of it's going to be the same as when we had iPhone 7 and 8. Is that you're not actually going to have a click anymore, and so while it's there and there's a sensor there, and I'm sure it could do more things than just like sending you back home to the watch face, but I make the same case. I think every time there's a new change in hardware, it's because we're looking at it in its current OS, which might not make sense. But I think they can't really do much more hardware-wise, but they can do so much more software-wise with watchOS that you can find a better use case with Touch ID. Now,
Randy, though, what is more convenient?
But
fine, finish your thought. Hurry up.
My people are, which we've all talked about, even Apple Watch to replace and kill iPhone. If you are one step closer to not even having to think about grabbing your phone, the same way we don't think about grabbing our MacBook or our iMac for our daily lives, and you can do more on.
I always grab my iMac.
You fool. Again, yeah, you're just weird. But if you could do that, I know in my case, a very realistic one that money people do is drive through at Starbucks. As quick and easy it is, I have to reload my Starbucks card with a little click. See, Viper can agree with. We need him here. He would agree with me on this. But I'm sure like who else is a Starbucks addict or a coffee addict? But like reloading, and if I could do more than just send or receive phone call and text, but now I can actually like authenticate purchases and charges that are going to Apple Pay just like that. One, two,
in-app purchases are coming out right now.
Two-factor
Instagram just
authentication. If you have to do two-factor authentication, you can go right there and do biometrics on your watch instead of having enter another PIN. And I think that counts. That would count as another two-factor authentication.
Why what Nick is laughing about is the watch is already authenticated as long as it's on your wrist. So you unlock it once.
But that's not biometric.
To verify,
Let me make the point.
My point is to verify purchases. You double-click side button very quickly, and that's already a thing. You don't enter your passcode when you do in-app purchases on the watch, or when you Apple Pay. It's just a double tap because it knows it's on your wrist. So that would be like three-factor authentication almost.
I disagree. Only because anybody, I can unlock your watch right now, put it on my wrist, and pretend to be you. That's not authentication. By a security means of it, that is not authentication. That is not a two-factor authentication. If I can just put in your PIN and put it on my watch and impersonate you and validate a purchase that way, that's not a two-factor. That is just no different than that's the same thing as putting in your PIN to get on Twitter or Facebook or your bank, and we're sending you a code or anything like that. When there is an action required, it's a reactionary step on your behalf, not the device trying to authenticate you. When there's an action that you have to do in that moment, if it's like, hey, put in the PIN, you could put in the PIN the same way, and that's authenticating again. But that's where Touch ID in this case would be quicker. Boop, done. And it's just like that.
So you're making two arguments right now. One is the watch should do everything and replace the phone, right?
Well, no, I mean, when I brought that up, that was a long
future
term.
of it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, long term. And that's a step in your mind. Touch ID is a step getting it towards replacing
Well, that's
your
the
phone.
theory.
Okay, that's the theory. All right. So now we're down to a theory, not an opinion. Okay. Well, that just disbands my entire argument here.
What are you doing? This is exactly the whole thing.
I was going to make a personal attach.
Yeah. No, the whole thing is that video that we saw. The
Siri wants
to
chime in from my watch.
Thank you, Siri.
She's talking.
We don't need you.
I don't think it would be faster. That's where I disagree.
No.
Because to authenticate on the watch, we don't enter our code. That's only just for unlocking, and that's only when you don't unlock your phone first, which does use a biometric.
But it's also a flawed system.
Why is it flawed?
How?
In the sense of biometrics is.
Have you ever tried to take your watch off and not have it unlock?
On your phone, you can. If your argument is you can get into the watch. If you have my 4-pin code, we have that with the iPhone and iPad anyway, because they won't default to Face ID. You have to have a passcode as a backup, which you can still surpass if you needed. So this wouldn't change that.
Yes, I agree. But we still got Touch ID and then Face ID, is the point I'm making.
For convenience.
Convenience. This is the most convenient product.
But this is already fast. That's my point. It's not any faster.
And people who I want a faster horse and
Okay.
before cars.
So
like, convenience.
here's my daily routine, Randy. I wake up in the morning. I put my
I
watch
don't
on
care
from the
what
charger.
your routine is.
No, and listen, this is important. I put my watch on. I don't even think about it. I just put my watch on. I don't look at the screen or anything. I open up my phone and go to Twitter like I normally do in the morning. By the time I'm ever thinking about my watch, it's already been unlocked by my Face ID. Mm-hmm. So if I opened up my watch and it was like, turn on, Touch ID here to unlock, that would be a whole extra step. Right now, all I have to do is put my watch on, and I'm not saying that's going to go away if they add Touch ID. I think the Face ID
it just wouldn't be utilized.
Exactly. It's like, what's the point? So yes, it's going to come at some point. No, hopefully it's not coming this year. But if it does, I guess we'll have it, and I'll pay an extra $50 for something I'm never.
So what I do,
so
Nick,
thank you,
when I wake up, is I don't go to my phone first if I'm putting on the watch. I will.
We're playing the 4-pin. You're holier than thou.
So,
okay,
but tell me how much time that saves, though, because adding biometrics to the phone, I think, was like 100 times more useful because we unlock our phones hundreds of times a day, whereas the watch is more of like a, you put it on once, you enter the code. Maybe you take it off a couple times throughout the day, but we're not anywhere near
biometrics. We also got biometrics came first, and then we had financial add-ons to iPhone, meaning that we could do Apple Pay only after we had biometrics. And
we have that on the watch already.
But it is still attached to the phone. It's not a true
necessarily
standalone device.
You can Apple Pay with the watch without the phone, though.
It's still there is a sense of tethering that's happening to it. You can't. It doesn't have its own dedicated line. It doesn't have its own dedicated truly anything. It's an add-on. Like the iPad itself is another add-on, and I can use the iPad on LTE and do all the things with biometrics, and I can take my iPad and leave my phone behind and do everything except make phone calls off of my 619 area code. Now, I can't do the same thing in regards to, so-and-so sent you a message, you need to view it on your watch, or this needs to happen, you have to go to your phone, you have to view it on your phone, you have to go to your phone.
What does that have to do with biometrics, though? That's all just watch limitation.
My point I'm making is that the watch is still very much dependent to the phone, and putting biometrics is cutting one more cable that's connected to the phone and putting it on the watch.
They still better have the Face ID unlock option.
I'm sure it is. Like the whole point. That's the
my
Apple
point.
ecosystem.
I agree with you. The watch is an add-on to the phone, but none of that is because it doesn't have its own biometric. It's all because of the display size.
You're
holding
too close to the. What I'm saying is bigger picture. If you can put everything.
You're saying I'm not big picture enough?
No, what I'm saying is that if you can do everything on the watch with never needing the phone at all, ever, as an option, why not? It doesn't change your daily life if you live in the ecosystem as is. People have iPads and don't have any other Apple device and they work just fine, and it's a little bit clunky sometimes. And if you can have everything be an independent item that just thrives when it's together, Face ID because you don't need to go to the watch, cool. But why should somebody else, just because their preference isn't an iPhone, have to suffer from that?
So you're saying you want Apple Watch compatibility with Android? Or you just want the Apple Watch to work on its own without an iPhone?
It's not what I want. I think that's it's more feasible to get it even more hands to make it a complete standalone, completely. By the same way iPad
is the perfect
iPad is a complete standalone. You can use iPad and use all of the cool features and still have a Samsung or a Pixel or whatever your preference is, or a Windows or whatever, and it still works. It won't be at 100% because it's not the ecosystem, but people still have that option. Watch should be the exact same thing, and biometrics is one of the benefits you can have if you get the LTE version, and then you can authenticate.
I disagree with the fundamentals of it. I don't think the watch ever could be complete standalone because
we're mental about having fun.
Right. Thank you, Nick, for the Office reference of the week. And
you.
the Apple Watch, because of its size, because it's a wearable, and because it's not headphones, and because it, everything you like your watch for are things that save you time from your phone. And in that way, because there's no keyboard, because there's no camera, and because there's not really a software patch that can just bring that over real quick, the process of setting up a watch as a standalone would be a nightmare. I guarantee you that. Like,
Yeah.
if you were like, I just bought an Apple Watch and I want to set it up,
Code.
you have to scribble your email and then your password. Again, even if you have a biometric, you're not getting rid of that PIN number, so that's still going to be there.
Why would you not use? Why would you not use Siri in that sense, like you would HomePod?
HomePod,
it connects to your
put
phone.
it does it from the phone. It's just you need a little verification to continue.
Which is exactly how the Apple Watch works.
I think having all products be completely independent from one another that just thrive when they're in the same room together is.
But there's certain accessories that I feel like fundamentally just can never do that because of what they are. Like the iPad is like a Mac, and in that way, because it's a computer, but it's not a computer, can be its own separate thing because you have a big display. You have lots of
I didn't say it.
hardware, navigation. You have so much you can do with that, and it's a standalone product, but the watch is not the product that can be standalone. It's always going to be an extension that improves the experience of the phone, but I don't think it will ever be.
Why couldn't there be a Apple Watch app for Android? And then there you go. It's just,
because the Apple Watch is the reason why people stick with iPhone. Like, it's all about the ecosystem.
But it's an accessory.
When you make
it's an accessory right now. The same way you have AirPods.
Randy.
AirPods can be used for Android.
They can be.
Well, I mean, with your logic, to take it to more of an extreme sense, the Apple Pencil is always going to be an iPad thing. Why can't it be available for other tablets?
Apple Pencil, please connect to my iCloud account.
Because Apple Pencil doesn't have an internet connection.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I know it's a more extreme example, but I'm looking at the watch as more of like the watch. What do you do on there?
Computer.
What do you use your watch for? What do you use it for?
Telling
activity.
Time. Workouts. I'm not even joking. I've been a watch wearer before Apple Watch. I strictly just go, what time is it? What's the weather? Tell me what the weather is.
Why do you choose the Apple Watch over a $20 watch you could also tell the time with and not have to charge?
If you remember last year, or not last year, but 2 years ago, I actually stepped away from Apple Watch for a long time because I
remember.
I vaguely remember that. Yeah.
Because you're right. Sometimes I just didn't want it,
but you came back.
I came back because I like the screen real estate and I like how smooth it is and I like how light it is.
For doing what?
For doing.
If it's just for telling time, why does screen real estate matter? For what reason?
Because I like looking at certain photos that my wife sends me and memes and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, that's funny. That's cute. But realistically, I came back because I like how much more accessories I can do with the bands than anything else. I got bored of the same design. Today I'm using the sports band. Yesterday I was using leather loop. I do it for the accessories, but that's because I've always been a watch wearer and I like dressing for the occasion. I like looking at the time and I like looking at the weather and going like that. That's the face complication that I have. And that's pretty much it. And then I use it to turn down AirPods because I have things that are actually downloaded on here. So I'm like, oh, okay, turn it up, turn down, and I feel like it's the best. The AirPods and Apple Watch is the best duo that Apple has ever like. I don't know. Yeah. I'm sure obviously it was intentional, but the fact that I really go places without my phone, I'm just, hey, I'm going for a run, and I'm having the time of my life. It's just, minimizing as a whole. I don't use it strictly because of it communicating with my phone. I don't use it. I don't really care. Like what Nick was saying, it's like I do put in my PIN. I'm on it doing like that just because I have to wake it up and I try to track my fitness stuff. But I only use it for accessorizing and for telling time and what the weather is going to be like before I go outside.
So there are seven things that I use my watch for. Number one, time. Number 2, the 4 complications I have, which is the date, which is very nice to know because I can never remember the date. The
That's
weather,
also time, yes.
which is from Dark Sky. Activity, and then my calendar, because I like having that little what's next event. The other 2 things that I use it for is the audio control and playback right from my wrist whenever I'm playing something on my phone. Very helpful. It's like having a little audio control, but it's on your wrist. And then the last thing I use it for is my workouts. So I enjoy the workout app quite a bit. And yeah, so that's really all I use my Apple Watch for. Like, I'm looking at the screen and like I haven't, if I open up the dock or whatever and it like shows you the recent app, like camera, podcast, mail, what, like I don't know when I use those apps. Like, it's literally just always activity, now playing.
If this could be a 16 gig or a 4 gig or a 2 gig, I would have more than enough space still. I don't.
Exactly, me too.
This is one of those things that's just like, it's mirroring my phone about like, hey, so-and-so texted you. Cool. Or hey, you got an email. Cool. So-and-so tagged you on Instagram. Cool. But, I mean,
I think it, because of its inherent design of it being attached to your wrist, meaning you can only use one finger at a time, and because the display has to be small, I don't think it will ever become completely independent. And if it did, it would worsen the experience of it. It would become a worse product, not a better one. And that's probably how they want it to be, because they do see big growth in wearables, but I think that's only because we've peaked with smartphone upgrades. I don't think it's because people are buying wearables instead of phones. They just don't need new phones. But to heighten their experience they have with their phone, because so many phones are becoming the same these days and they're all doing the same thing and we're running out of hardware features to provide them, the wearables expand on that experience, but like your watch will never replace your camera, which I know is a huge motivator for you in your phone. Like that's the primary reason to have it. So that's not going away. And for so many people, things like FaceTime calls or having a keyboard and just being able to text people is super, super common. And I like Scribble and I like dictation, but that's never going to replace texting. The keyboard's always going to be, more socially comfortable and you can type faster. And that's probably going to be 80 to 90% of communication still. And the watch can't replicate that. So even if it became a more independent product, that's how you get the, sign in with your Apple ID by talking to the micro and just the RANDY. You go through the whole password thing, and setting up the
Capital
now.
R, lowercase
like so much
a.
of the features are all built around pinging the phone or silencing the phone or looking at the camera from this viewfinder. I think this is one of those 1,000 no's Apple talks about.
Yeah. I feel like the fact that nobody's on Series 5 is a point that's like you don't need everything because
there's a flashlight on this thing.
Oh yeah, I've
what
used
the heck?
I use the flashlight a lot.
Once upon a time.
Why did no one tell me about this?
True story. I had a power outage last year, and my watch guided me through my house.
I just use it when I'm going to bed at night all the time. It's just right there and it's easy, and I don't know where my phone is sometimes, so it's
use my watch.
Do you wear your watch that long?
I wear my watch from the second I wake up till the moment I go to sleep. It doesn't come off.
The moment I close all 3 rings, this sucker's coming off. I don't want it on.
Same, but I don't do that very regularly.
I was going to say, let's see here.
No, even when I close my rings, Randy, I keep it on.
So, Randy, you have not closed your rings in a while. Have you just not taken your watch off? Is that
Randy?
The thing? Yeah.
What do you mean? I close my rings every single day.
It must be dated.
Yeah, that's today.
Oh, that's today's? Oh, that's today.
Well, why haven't you closed your rings in the first hour?
By the way, look how long I've been standing. Look at that. That's from me going to bed at 4 a.m.
Yeah, you were up late or early.
Fine. But I
just went to bed.
Move ring filled, Randy. This is why the Apple Watch is important, folks, because it allows me to compare my phone with Randy.
But this is a fascinating disagreement we've discovered that I want to dive
know.
more into, because if you believe the Apple Watch should be more independent, or that's the grand theory eventually, it doesn't matter what you want, it's just where Apple's going with it. Do you think one day the Apple Watch should get a camera?
Ooh, heck no.
And where?
No way. No way.
Never. You're saying never.
Never. Glasses,
So
AR
why-
glasses totally can get a camera. But
Why no
not
camera,
a-
but yes to a fingerprint reader?
no to a fingerprint reader.
Well, I told you yes to the
Hold on,
fingerprint
Randy.
because
Don't you dare loop me into this.
There's two. You get more security that way. Apple TV is standalone and it doesn't have a camera.
It doesn't have a fingerprint reader.
It's not a mobile
You got to
product.
use a pin if you can.
Well,
You can lock your Apple TV.
also you don't use Apple TV for anything that requires purchasing like that.
Well, you can verify it off the phone, but I mean, like, the Apple TV still boots up off the iPhone, similar to an Apple Watch.
The only
but
thing that everything should be tied to is not the device, but I feel like every Apple product, in my opinion, which I think it is. Anyway, let me just say, I feel like every product should not be tied to a certain hardware. It should always default and be tied to iCloud. That's your nucleus. That's the brain of it all.
Pretty much, yeah. That's the cloud.
So if you did everything exactly the same right now on the watch, but instead of it, hey, so and so on the phone, it's to the iCloud, and however you have your means to get to iCloud, then that's where it all gets funneled to these servers in nowhere USA, and then there you go. The reason why you shouldn't have a camera is because there's not a real use case for unless you want to be James Bond. You know what I mean? Like,
I would argue I agree with you, but I would argue there's more of a use
camera,
case.
Guys, come on.
Yeah. There's more of a use case for a camera than a fingerprint reader, because we already
there
have
is a camera.
authentication.
It's a monitor.
Oh yeah, I mean front-facing camera, the camera that looks at you.
I don't know.
You could make the argument of occasional
Angles,
quick
Drew,
FaceTime calls.
You don't ever want this.
No, I agree. It shouldn't have one, but I'm saying there's more of an argument to be made of, like, okay, they're bored and they don't know what to add to the Apple Watch. So let's say years from now they figure out how to add one within the bezel. It doesn't have a notch or anything, but you can, like, quickly answer FaceTime calls, not for prolonged use, but just for quick, similar to walkie-talkie.
I just want to say, because I don't think I said it out loud, I am not in favor of Touch ID.
Okay.
Yes, you did. You said that at the beginning. We're just
Did
all
I?
picking on you because you decided to play devil's advocate. Yeah,
I wanted to
you
play
did
devil's
say that at the beginning.
advocate because I'm putting myself in the shoes of independency of every device. And if I don't ever see a need for a camera to be on something so small, I've never agreed with that. And I think that's why they haven't done it yet. I'm sure there's many prototypes out there that they've tried it. Like, what would it look like? Let's see what FaceTime on Apple Watch would look, but that'd nuke your battery. Like, I don't even see remotely a plausible anything with it. And I'm trying to think outside of, like, what I use Watch for, which I don't use Apple Watch for hardly anything, to tell you the truth. But if they do put Touch ID, it's because they're trying to one step break away from the watch. But I'm not in favor of it the same way I didn't get Series 5. I will hold on to Series 4. Look at that. As I was cleaning out everything, I went from Series 0 OG, which I just found the other day, to this 4. And I'll probably hold on to this for a couple series, more than a couple series, for the same reason. Like, not every single thing needs to be on. I didn't care about GPS on Series 2. I didn't care about LTE on Series 3.
Or even water resistance, officially.
I don't even care. I went to Series 4 because I liked the bigger screen real estate. I liked seeing more data on it because I do like, getting text messages from people and being able to read more on it and just kind of look it up. But outside of that, like, if I would have held on to this to the very end, which it basically did. It was dying on me at that point because the battery was crapping out on me. But not everything needs to be an update. I feel like Apple put themselves in a corner about, yearly upgrades when they first started off. It wasn't yearly. It took them a good while to get from 0 to, or what was then called Zero, nothing, just Apple Watch to Series
Just
2.
Apple Watch.
It
Apple
took
Watch
them a minute.
Sport.
And
You remember Apple Watch Sport? That was fun.
When did the Series 2 come out? Was it with the iPhone 7?
iPhone 7,
2016. And they unveiled it. When did they unveil the first Apple Watch? 2014?
The first Apple Watch was unveiled September of 2014. So it was 2 years since the last unveil, but it wasn't
First
released
Apple Watch
until
came with
May.
iPhone 6.
I see.
Second
Yeah.
Apple Watch came with iPhone 7.
7.
And then everything came out
Oh,
every
I
year
see. Yeah.
since then.
Yeah.
6S
Okay, so there
was
was
the only time I never got an actual...
6S was the last new iPhone, but no new watch. Gotcha.
They did.
Yeah,
do,
I think
they did some color and band refreshes though. Like it was up
They
on
did.
stage.
Sure. Well, they do those like
I know.
4 times
They
a
do
year,
those
but
every few minutes.
here's some new watches that are going away.
Here are some new watch bands. Try them out.
Get the
now.
vitamin
Only
C
$600.
band, everyone.
If they put
Fight
3D Touch
COVID-19.
in this thing right here, it would die the same way 3D Touch dies because I don't think it would be used enough. Remember in software when
I will
they had
say-
that group? And you could just scroll and like,
Yep.
let me give you
The
my
contacts
heartbeat.
button. Yeah.
That didn't make it past WatchOS 1.
That's what this button was. That button was just
Yep.
contacts. That's all
It wasn't
was.
multitasking originally, yeah. But I think I would argue
There was no
because there's a
multitasking.
tiny, it's not very practical, but there's a very tiny number of people that might utilize the fingerprint reader on the watch for whatever reason. Only add it if it does not increase the price. That would be my argument.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you
no,
can keep
totally.
the same starting price as the Series 5 is right now, and it didn't have to go up, and you could just add it at no additional cost, then I would say, sure, why not? Because we're running out of things to add to it in the first place. But if it can't be added without a price increase, and I'm saying this because I know Apple listens to these podcasts, they love putting them in all their commercials, then don't
You, Apple.
Only a few of them.
don't implement it until then, because it's not that big an issue, but it's something people keep thinking they need, and I don't think it's kind of like always on display. A lot of people were acting like that needed to be a thing, and Apple did it anyway, and I was like, oh, well, okay, well, cool. You did
Can
it.
we give a shout out though to like how durable the Apple Watch are? Like
The
Apple
higher
Watch
end ones,
series.
very much.
Yeah. This gold, as much as I don't like the gold color, I'm coming around to it. Like I know I've harked on it, like I've hated it for literally a year and a half now.
It's the best
But,
because you
like,
have it.
Over the
What's
past,
the
yes, it
beauty
is the
about
best
Nick?
that I have it. Well, the gold is using some kind of diamond light coating or something, PC something or other coating, that it's so durable. Like I was trying to buff it out. My original plan was to buff out the Apple Watch with some stainless steel polish and take it
We
down.
were going to
the
do
bare
that
metal.
when we met up.
We were going to
Dang
do
it.
that. I have the package for you, Drew, but unfortunately we got
Can you buff out my
quarantined, so-
AirPods?
I probably could. That little metal part at the bottom. Yep, definitely. But anyway, I was trying to buff it out, and like it was not coming out. The coating is so hard. I even took steel wool to it, like 4-aught steel wool, and I was trying to buff like just on the backside, on the underside, just discreetly trying to see if I could even buff off some of that gold coating, and I can't. And I think that's why it stood up so well. Like I don't see any scratches on the steel, and
No, I've
obviously
worn
sapphire,
mine.
so there's no scratches anywhere. Like if I just cleaned off all the oils from it and like gave it a good deep clean, it would look brand new. Like there are no chips. It's so durable, and I banged this thing on.
I believe you.
I have struck this on many a doorway walking through it.
I
I do
too.
not bang my watch.
I've done that myself. That's why I went to Sapphire after I
Yes.
I got the aluminum Series 3 originally, and I was like, oh, yeah, aluminum's fine. Who cares about the stainless steel? But then I was moving a lot at the time, and I kept bumping it against the doorways, and it was like week 3, and I was already seeing like 2 noticeable scratches on the glass, and I was just like, I just got this, and I'm noticing it already, and I'm always going to notice it. So my
That's because you were moving. I don't see anything, and I got the sports one.
I move a
Sorry,
lot,
aluminum.
Randy.
Stop
I'm
Every
fickle.
weekend.
Well,
Every
I don't think
weekend.
I'm moving for a while, but now just because I've seen, I've taken the stainless steel watch like swimming in rivers and scratched them against the rocks in the river, and I knew it like for a second when I scratched it, I felt it and heard it, and I was like, that I just broke my watch. There's no way that's
Yeah.
okay, because it was like running water, like fast moving water, and it just against the bottom. And I was like, ooh, that's not good. And I get out of the river and I look, and it's perfectly fine. And I was just like,
No, I've done that so many times. At least
Okay.
like 100 times by now. It's like heart dropping, or
yeah, times I
and it's
just
like
hit it really, really hard against something, and I just check, and it's perfectly fine. And I'm like, this is why I go stainless steel now. If they provided a sapphire glass aluminum version, I would get that. Absolutely.
I would get anything that has sapphire on it because I just like the word sapphire.
yeah, Johnny I
Like
say
the credit
word
card?
sapphire.
That's right, because I got the credit card. Oh God, why
Chase
am I
Sapphire.
Because you did it, Nick. I have the sapphire reserve, but like even just the protection, like it's. Correct me if I'm wrong. Sapphire, it won't scratch, but it's
It's
will
more
break
shatter
easy.
prone.
So
Yes.
level 9 on the Mohs hardness scale, only underneath diamond and transparent.
With deep
Though
grooves.
we should bring up for the Jerry Rig Everything viewers out there that the sapphire Apple uses is not pure sapphire. It's using
That is
a
true.
Ion X
Because pure
sapphire
is
mixture.
unstable. It cracks. Pure sapphire. In
And
its
it
larger
probably
form
costs
cracks.
more. If you want to argue that it's because they're cheap and they didn't want to do pure sapphire, go ahead, argue that. But my
Remember
point is,
all
it
those-
works. It
Remember
works.
all those rumors about iPhones getting sapphire displays?
iPhone
Like
6.
that was like a thing, and I remember like seeing like
I don't remember
big,
that actually.
like round, like 4,000 pound like sapphire crystals that were like cracked or whatever, like in Apple's supply chain, like they're having a problem refining the crystal to make it uniform and not crack when it cooled or something. And so the
There was a
sapphire
few
is
phones that had
underused-
sapphire glass displays.
There were.
There are a couple Android phones, but the point,
Android
the
phones.
reason,
no iPhone.
no iPhones. But I remember there being a few like durability tests on, I think it was the HTC or Huawei or someone who used a few. But the point was they were way more prone to shattered when dropped, which is why sapphire doesn't make sense on an iPhone.
Question.
But
Do you think Apple execs have some special iPhone, say like sapphire glass, true sapphire? Like, do you think they have something that we don't have?
They
I
have
wouldn't be
software we
shocked.
don't have. No, I've thought about this. If Tim Cook wanted a custom phone, it would just be the iPhone 12. Like, if he was like, no, I actually want it to be,
well, with the
rounded
watch,
corners.
he had exclusive stuff with the Apple Watch.
Well, those were internal testing units. Those red ones, like all the engineers had stainless steel with red dots.
That's
So,
my point. They could have internal testing units that happen to have sapphire glass,
Yeah,
because that's
fine.
not
I'm
something
talking
they would
about
get caught.
anything that's being beta. I'm saying like, you know what? Hey, good morning, Johnny. Do you think you could just give me,
He's not
this?
there
And he
anymore.
I know, but back then,
Yeah, no.
at least back
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
like, make me this, and they just make
After-
it for him.
After the
I bet they
iPhone,
could.
after the iPhone 10
But do you
came
think
out,
they do?
they
Yeah,
do.
I do.
They probably do. I wish they didn't because I want to have their cool tech. But after the iPhone 10 came out, Tim Cook was doing like an interview on stage, and he was like sitting down, and the iPhone 10 like slipped out of his pocket. Like they had announced it, but it wasn't like out yet, and so like that was like I remember that being a newsworthy item. Like if that happened a few weeks before, like he would have leaked the new phone. Like
Yeah, I think
I
they're
kind of
more
wonder,
careful
like,
about
at what point
new
At what
design.
point do they start using them? Because like that Samsung CEO was using the Note, whatever that was, before it came out, right? And like,
Yeah. I mean, I think they would be more cautious about anything that was like, they probably have labels for things that are like, this is noticeably different. Like if someone saw you using this phone on a subway or in public,
Yeah.
they would
Like
know
iPhone
it's
4?
not
was
a
a perfect device.
the iPhone 4 leak was a perfect example. Is
Yeah.
like they had a prototype that was drastically different than the current flagship that got out. But because of that, they would probably, I think they do have some type of exclusive hardware they get to use, but it may have things that you couldn't tell the difference, is my point. So something like that, yeah, like a sapphire glass, or maybe a different color that no one else has or something.
Exactly.
That's just like,
Thanos.
just because
purple.
they can. They're not testing.
Iron
They
Man.
like
Yeah.
Tim Cook's favorite color is midnight green. Everything. His midnight green watch.
he has a midnight
What is Tim
green
Cook's
iPad or
favorite
something.
color?
I'll cry.
Do we know?
I don't know, but I saw his tweet video about COVID-19, and it made
saw
me
that.
laugh to see him like in a vlogging mindset. He's like sitting at his desk and he props his phone out to record something. He's just like, we're very excited. When he's done talking, he's like, turn it off. It was just hilarious. I'm like, give me more Tim Cook vlogs, please. I want more just Tim doing stuff. Just
that would make a
out.
perfect Apple TV Plus, folks. Just mockumentary of Tim Cook's life.
Any celebrity, I've always wanted more vlogs. Just do more vlogs.
Good
what if
morning.
Tell that to John Krasinski.
Phil Schiller's just like, I'm gonna film my day. It'd be great.
They had to
It'd be
do
wonderful.
that with what was it when iMovie was first coming out? Like Steve Jobs made all of the execs make like a home movie with iMovie.
They should bring that
a few
back.
Of them made the stage. Yeah, they should every week.
And they have to post it to TV Plus.
Each show is like they have like eight episode season or whatever, and each of the episodes is just like the week in Craig Federighi's life or a week in Tim Cook's life, and they just have like a camera crew follow him around. It doesn't have to be that complicated.
Perfect. I would watch the crap out of that.
Nothing would happen
Imagine
to their
how we see it in our head one way, and then if it actually happens, like they're just vlogging, you're like, these guys are boring. Like,
no, I would not think that.
I watched that Twitter video like 8 times with Tim.
I haven't watched it yet. The one that came out yesterday?
You're missing out, man. You're missing out.
Yesterday, right? Or
Was it
2 days ago?
yesterday or
It was
before
like
that?
2 or 3 days ago. It was a couple days.
I don't remember.
I haven't watched it.
But it was funny to watch. It was funny to see him talk like that in that scenario, because you're just used to always hearing him on a stage in front of thousands of people, and that was
Not like at his home office.
him in his office.
Home office. Not even like his actual Apple office that's, like beautiful. Like it's just his home office.
I'm working from home. Do you think he's in sweatpants just emailing
Probably.
people?
That's what I'm
Running the company.
In sweatpants. I'm firing people in sweatpants. Nothing says I don't care about you more than firing you in sweatpants. Like, I'm not even going to get dressed for this. You're done.
Well, I've got some bad news for you guys today. I am in sweatpants.
I'm going to kill myself.
And I'm going to fire.
I am going to kill myself, and it's your fault.
Do we have any closing thoughts as we wrap up?
Tim Cook, please use
Touch
the
ID
blog
for
mode more.
Apple Watch is a yes for me.
I would say yes if it doesn't increase the price.
I would say no because it's stupid, and so is Randy.
Okay. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll catch y'all next week. Stay clean.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.